Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video where we're going in depth on Czerny's Piano-Forte school. So, to begin, this is the third lesson, and I've already tried to film this one, but it ended up going on way too long, so I'm redoing it now, and hopefully I can get through it a lot quicker. So, I'm just going to read through the examples, or read through the information, play the examples, and I'm just going to try and rely a little bit more on post-editing to, give you guys a better understanding of what he's talking about. And if I really need to say anything, I'll say that. Okay, so all the different sounds and keys are expressed on paper by characters called notes, which consist of a round dot or head to which is appended a thin stroke drawn upwards or downwards. The round dot or head is the note. The following example will give a general view of the forms of the notes. Now we have a musical example. What the pupil is to get out of this is to actually just observe it and see what music is written like, what it looks like on the page, and what they can take away from that, what the notes look like, all the signs like the brace, the clefs, the time signature, the bar lines, what bars are. We can see first bar, second bar, third bar there. Notes stacked on top of each other, as we see in the fourth bar, stacked on top of each other vertically, notes horizontally, notes with, lines connecting them, etc. Okay, and also rests, symbols as well. Alright, so I'm going to play this example. Moving on. On examining this example, the pupil must be made to observe what follows. The notes are placed on two sets of 5 lines which are called staves, of which the upper one is intended for the right hand and the under one for the left. These two staves are tied together at their commencement by a character called a brace. See this indication. So in the example, I will go to the example now in the editing. In the example, you have that indication, which will be circled, and then you see the brace. Okay, immediately after the brace follows a character called a clef. See this indication will be circled, and you can see what the clef looks like. Having in the upper stave the form this, which is the treble clef, this is called the treble clef, it implies that all the notes which are placed on this stave are to be played on the right side of the keyboard. That is on the acute or treble portion of the instrument. The clef in the bottom stave is formed thus. That's the bass clef, and it's called the bass clef, and it indicates that the notes which are played on this stave are to be played on the left side of the keyboard, that is on the grave or bass part of the instrument. The character which occurs next in both staves, C, is the time mark. As I show in the example there. It shows in what manner the notes are divided in respect to the time or measure by the bar lines, which occur at every step. See the first of them at this indication, so you can see the bar lines. The space between two such bar lines, as also all the notes included therein make one bar, each of which must be exactly equal duration throughout the whole movement or composition. The preceding example, as will be seen, consists of 8 such bars. Each stave consists of 5 parallel lines, and the notes are placed partly on these lines and partly between them. See the first and second bars in the upper stave. They are also partly placed over the 5 lines by means of little additional lines called ledger lines. See the 5th and 6th bars in the top stave. Partly also under the 5 lines, as in the 8th bar upper stave. The notes are sometimes white, as in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd bars, bottom stave, sometimes black, as in all the rest. Sometimes the white notes occur without any thin stroke or stem. See the first bar, lower stave. On the contrary, the black notes always have a thin stem attached to them, and in addition to this, they are also often connected together in groups of 2, 3, or more notes by thick lines drawn across the stems, as in the 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th bars upper stave. These numerous variations indicate the longer or shorter duration of velocity with which the notes to be played are to follow one another. A white note without any stem is called a semibreve. This in modern music is comparatively the longest note, as it fills up the whole bar, and in consequence, we must firmly hold down the key which it represents as long as the entire bar lasts. White notes with a stem called minims last exactly 1/2 the time of the semibreve. Black notes standing alone, called crotchets, are as to duration worth only the half of the minim. Black notes tied together by one line across their stems are called quavers, and they are only 1/2 the duration of the crotchets, and thus each additional cross stroke increases the quickness of notes in the same proportion. By this it occurs that one bar everywhere lasts as long as another, though in some there may be only a few notes, while in others, on the contrary, there may be a great many. In the 5 last bars, several characters occur besides the notes, which are called rests. These characters imply that for a certain time we must not touch any key with our fingers, but that the hand must, as it were, hover in the air just over the keys. Besides this, according to rule, each note must be held down till the following one is struck, because with the exception of the rests where indicated, no chasm or interruption must take place in the melody which the notes indicate. When 2 or more notes on the stave stand over one another, with only one single stem to them all, as in the 4th bar, they are to be struck together. These are called double notes, when there are but 2, and chords when several stand over one another in this way. When the pupil thoroughly comprehends and observes all these rules, he will find them facilitate and abridge in a very great degree the following elementary instructions. Continuation of the 3rd lesson, names of the treble notes. It is necessary that beginners should first learn the treble notes well before they attempt the bass notes. The 5 lines of which each stave consists are always reckoned upwards, so that the lowest line is called the 1st and the highest the 5th. The 4 empty interstices, which occur between the lines are called spaces. Okay, the note on the first line in the treble clef is E of the 3rd octave, and therefore it is placed very nearly in the middle of the keyboard. The note on the second line is G, next above on the 3rd line the following B, on the 4th the following D of the 4th octave, and on the 5th the following F. We then as we ascend from the lower octave to the higher, the notes on the paper ascend in the like manner. Treble notes on the lines E, G, B, D, F. So we can see the E of the 3rd octave, double octave, 1st octave, 2nd octave, 3rd octave, 3rd octave G, 3rd octave B, 4th octave D, double octave, 1st octave, 2nd octave, 3rd octave, 4th octave D, and the 4th octave F. The keys which are passed over in playing the 5 notes, namely F, A, C, and E, are indicated by the notes in the intermediate spaces. Notes in the spaces F, A, C, E. Consequently, the 5 lines include all the 9 following notes: E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. As these notes are not sufficient to indicate the whole of the acute or treble notes on the keyboard, the deeper notes are placed below and the more acute notes above the stave, and the additional lines requisite for each note are indicated by short, thin cross lines, which are called ledger lines, and which either pass through the heads of the notes or are placed over or under them. Notes under the lines: D, C, B, A, G, F, E. The D stands under the E in the 3rd octave, and then follow the notes descending to the E of the 2nd octave. So the notes D of the 3rd octave, C of the 3rd octave, B of the 2nd octave right, well, no, it's third octave, third octave A, then second octave G, second octave F, second octave E. So we have the double octave, the first octave, second octave E. There we go. Notes over the lines. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. His keyboard stops. G, A, B, C, ours goes up to. Okay. As the highest notes require too many additional lines to be easily distinguished by the eye, it is usual to write them an octave lower and to place over them the characters 8VA, which signify that they must be played on an octave higher than the notes really appear. This 8VA lasts till the word loco appears. In this way, we may perceive all the treble keys from E in the second octave to the highest F are clearly and conveniently indicated by notes. Here follows the complete series of them. So E of the second octave, E, F, G, A of the second octave, A, B, C, C of I'll start again. E of the second octave, A of the third octave, C, D, E, F, G, A of the fourth octave, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A of the fifth, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A of the sixth, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A of the seventh, A, B, C. Obviously, guys, the reason we're doing A at the third octave and not C is because our keyboard starts on A, his keyboard started on C. That should be self-explanatory to you. If it's not, then maybe this is not the best way for you to learn piano. Okay. The chief point is for the learner as soon as possible to acquire the power of reading the notes quickly and correctly, and of striking them on their proper keys. Correct reading of the notes is the business of the eye. The striking of them correctly on the instrument, that of the hands and fingers. Both must, however, be impressed on the memory with equal exactness, and the pupil must make himself master of this twofold knowledge so perfectly as to never mistake, for on these 2 points mainly depend the whole art of playing the pianoforte. To facilitate reading with quickness and the following means will be found of service. Make the pupil often name the notes out loud while you point to them, taken at hazard on the paper with a small pen or pencil. In a similar manner, let him look for the notes on the keys, striking them, and at the same time naming them out loud. Strike several keys at hazard, and let the pupil seek for and point out the corresponding notes on the paper. If the pupil can use a pen, teach him to write the notes and dictate various notes to him by merely striking them, causing him to write them down. The following little pieces, which must hereafter be studied as practical exercises, may in the meantime serve to practice reading the notes by causing the pupil to name the notes, find them on the keys, and strike them with each hand separately. The prescribed fingering must be observed as soon as practicable plus the thumb is indicated in both hands and the other fingers successively by 1, 2, 3, 4, the last standing for the little finger. So the following little piece be studied as a practical exercise may in the meantime serve to practice reading the notes. So this is the first exercise which we're about to get into is to practice reading the notes and to strike the notes hands separately and practice that, but then to really study it as a piece of music to learn to play. That brings us to the end of this portion of the video. I'm going to begin playing the examples for you, and that will be the end of the video. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.